Is the Catania airport open? Well, the short answer is yes, but with a few caveats. Some flights are still being canceled. They're being diverted to other airports here in Catania, or they're being operated out of another terminal. So the main building where people used to arrive and depart is open, but very, very few flights are going. Now, there is another structure that was set up by the military, a few tents that are also receiving some arrivals and departures, but we are nowhere near back to normal flights. Now, let me tell you, I took some flights. I left to go to Budapest and came back on August 6th. So August 1 to August 6th, I have an experience that I'm going to share it with you, but I just want to give you a little bit of a background if you guys are new to this. There was a small fire July 16th at one of the terminals in the airport, and it closed down the entire operation. And it's been operating at skeleton level, gradually, slowly open up since then. And today we're taping this August 6th. So that's pretty much their update. And let me just clarify something that a lot of you have asked. This fire is not the wildfires that swept through Sicily also a few weeks ago. This is a different fire. The cause obviously still being investigated, but there you go. That's the latest. If you're coming to Sicily, one of the biggest things that I would say for you to do, because I didn't get an SMS, which is a message that my flight from Budapest to Catania was diverted. I'm going to tell you more about that in just a second. But I knew because I called my airline and I knew the situation. So I kept on top of it. So much more on that in just a bit.
If you're coming to Sicily within the next week to 10 days, okay, there's going to be issues. Okay. Yes, it's open. Yes, all the big shots made a big brouhaha on the internets today, as George Bush would say, that it's open. Okay. But it takes a lot of time to reposition planes. It takes a lot of time to get the help. It takes a lot of time to do all the logistical things necessary to bring it up to where it was, which was 40 flights a day. Okay. I think that it's not going to be until after Ferragosto, the holiday, that things are going to actually be okay. But if you're planning on coming to the second half of August, perhaps even the last week of August through September and October, everything should be fine. So this is the last bumpy week. We're on the bed over here, but right now, today, as we're talking, people are still getting diverted. That's what I wanted to say about
And
that.
that was my story. So let me tell you, I flew August 1st to Budapest and I flew with Wizz Air. My flight did depart from Catania Airport. And here are some of my observations, okay? So one of the last week we spoke to you about the lack of English, lack of water, lack of communication, lack of whatever. And I'll leave you a link to that video down below. From my standpoint, there has been some substantial improvements, but here we are, 3 weeks after the fire? So a little bit too late. So I did notice a lot of English-speaking people helping foreigners. That was a big problem before. I did see a lot of people sort of directing people. There's been a lot of complaints that lack of information. That's a little bit still of a problem, but not as much as I observed. There is a cafe serving water, drinks, foods inside. Outside, for the outside people waiting, that's another story. I did see a truck bringing bottles of water. I'm not sure if that was for distribution. I did read that the mayor of Catania had some people distributing water. So for me, it was really interesting because my flight was very early in the morning and I was nervous, as you can imagine, going to the airport because I just didn't know what to expect. And I was honestly pleasantly surprised. They had set up Terminal C. Terminal C, for those of you who don't know, was a terminal that was used only for domestic flights, so only flights within Italy. And now they changed it into receiving international flights. And I spoke to some of the people, and I'm going to have a video later on that week for workers who went from receiving maybe 5 arrivals, 5 departures, and now they were a day or something like that. Now they were receiving 5 arrivals, 5 departures an hour. So it's quite a shift also for the staff over there. So that was very smooth, the departure. So let me tell you about arrival. Arrival happened last night. If you're watching us live, August 5th. I said to you before that I didn't get notification, neither my airline, I didn't get a text, nothing. Because I know of the situation, I started looking at what flights are being diverted, what flights are arriving in Catania. And, in the morning, yesterday morning at 9:30 a.m., I was like, oh, Al, I'm getting diverted. I call Al, I'm like, I'm going to be diverted to Trapani. So people are either being diverted to the airport of Trapani, Palermo, or Comico. Comico is down in the province of Ragusa. Just so you know, we live right outside of Catania. We're talking a 5-hour drive. So my flight from Budapest, after several delays over there as well, arrived at midnight in Trapani. And I was very interested to see their busing system. And we got off the bus, and there were several people pointing us to where we had to take the bus because they're offering free buses, free shuttles for people who are being diverted to go to Catania. So I arrived at 5 a.m. to Catania Airport, arrived here with my Bunster at 5:30 a.m. But again, I was pleasantly surprised. Also, probably because of the hours of the day, I was traveling early in the morning and late at night, so the traffic was not that much. Again, I'm going to have an entire video chronicling my experience and also some tidbits from Budapest in an upcoming video.
I want to give a shout out today to a politician, which I never do, okay, honestly. But whatever improvements have been made this week, I want to point directly to Matteo Salvini, the member of Melini's cabinet transportation person, who got personally involved because he saw all the incompetence that was going on. And basically all day long, since our rant, well, my rant last week, there was a lot of changes. And actually, if you watch my rant and Esther's mini rant last week, we were dead accurate on our criticism, okay? The problem is, in my view, and believe me, there are still lots of problems over there, is you have a minor league outfit running the show over there, okay? And that's the problem with Sicily in general, is that there is no international, in my view, Esther, there's no international flavor on the administrative end of it. It's all, local yokels, which are okay to have locals, so long as they're completely competent and trained. Now, I can use as a reference Boston Logan Airport, okay, which is huge, 8th largest or whatever it is. When they were building that brand new terminal, they called in for security issues the Israelis. The guy that was in charge of the Israeli security in Tel Aviv was brought over, okay? They called over experts from Amsterdam on the flow of the people, okay? They didn't do a darn thing in Boston until plenty of experts were consulted. That's what the problem is here. You have a bunch of lightweights running the place, which is okay if it's a local airport, but they're trying to pin themselves now, in my view, as being one of the big players in tourism in Sicily. Well, you know what happened when you had a bunch of lightweights? I'm going to tell you. Since this debacle started, tourism and all the substance, things that go along with it is out 100 million euro. You've got people who are devastated. And the worst part about everything else is you have tens of thousands of people all over the world right now returning home. And what are they going to remember? They're going to remember the nightmare that they experienced this last, how many days has it been?
July 16th. So about
20
3
days.
weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over. That's what they're going to remember. But as Esther said, it's getting better, a lot better. But we're not out of the woods yet. That's what I wanted to say.
The good thing about it is, there were a series of problems, and they are working on it. The biggest problem for me was the lack of information. No one knows anything. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. No one knows. So I got on the flight yesterday in Budapest, and they didn't even know what time we're going to leave, what time we're going to arrive, where the buses were going to be there, what time the buses were going to be there. So I think the frustration, and I heard it from other travelers, is this lack of information, it's this lack of knowledge of what is coming up next. So that's one of the big issues. But as I said, at both airports, there were a lot of people trying to be very helpful. But to be quite honest with you, we read many reports and heard many stories about misinformation. In fact, I had a client in Palermo who called me and said, Esther, I don't understand a word they're saying. Can you please help me interpret what they're saying? So it's been very frustrating. Now, here's what I have to say about people that go home and say something about Sicily. It's my hope that Sicily spoke for itself, and that their experience on their final day or arrival day just it is not as important as the entire Sicily experience. Luckily, we are no longer in that crazy 110 heat wave that was here for a long time. It is comfortable. It is in the mid 70s, low 80s in the sun. So Sicily is, as you guys know, paradise. So I'm really hopeful that the people that leave here and have a terrible experience go home and stay here with a good attitude. But I have to say again that I was pleasantly surprised at my experience. I was all set to not find my bus, not know what it is, blah, blah, blah. The buses were comfortable. There were people helping. So that was my experience. But as we had said in the other broadcast that we did right after the fire, from the top down, there's got to be some managerial changes at the Catania airport, because they are vying to be one of the most important in Italy. And in fact, they have been. So this is a big problem, So I just want to ask something. Someone brought this up a few. Okay, this is very important. Paul says, Esther, have you heard about some new visa rules starting in 2024? We heard a little bit about it. Al, you probably want to address it. I know a little bit peripherally.
Okay, here's what the scoop is. It was the United States' fault, okay? They decided they want to jack some tourists going into the United States by charging a $20 entry fee, so to speak, that you fill out a little form online, you pay your money, and you go. So in response, the EU says, oh, really? You can do that? We're going to do the same thing. So they put in a requirement starting, I think it's next April, that you want to come here with your big blue visa, that's the passport, United States passport, you have to go online and you have to pay €8. So it's going to be a painless thing. Now, if you're a dual citizen like I am, it's really not going to cost us anything, because when I leave Sicily to go to the States, I show my American passport. Conversely, when I leave the United States, coming here, I show my European Union passport. So we're not going to really have to do anything, of course, unless they change the regulation between now and then. But could I ask? I want to answer Jimmy.
One second. Dr. Rosemary Exxon coverage of this. Many travel sites are minimizing the reality. Thank you. And I will show you a video later on this week. This one?
Jimmy.
Al, I totally agree with you, but even over the number of years, I have seen some really positive things happening at Fontana Rosa.
Could I answer, Jim?
Yes, and then I want to talk about
Jim,
that too.
You ever hear the Peter Principle? The Peter Principle is a psychological term where it basically says that a person raises to his highest level of incompetence. Okay? That's what's happened with Fontana Rosa. Let's talk about planning, okay? The airport, where it is. There's no room for expansion. None. Okay? It's like a shoebox. If they want to be an international player, and by the way, they do want to be an international player, they have no room for expansion. All right. The same exact problem that's hitting Catania is hitting Palermo. Palermo has less room than Catania. So things were not thought out. Now, they made a big stink last year that they got, 300 or 400 or 500 million euro to invest into the airport. You know, most of that money is going, most of the money, except for 100 million or 200 million, are going to a new runway. So they got to fix a new runway for new arrivals without the actual infrastructure. And let me tell you something else, Jim. Getting out of Fontana Rosa is a nightmare. It's got like what, like one little. Every time I go there, I was just there this week. They change how to get in. They change. Am I right? How to get
100%.
out. It's bananas. This has to go to lack of professional planning.
100%
Okay.
agree with you.
And here's the other thing: there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. There's too many levels of bureaucracy. Too many things have to be checked off. Too many things have to be approved where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Really, what Fontana Rosa needs, they need a despot. They need a guy like a dictator, or a company like a dictator. You know, bring in the Japanese, for heaven's sakes. Bring in the Israelis to teach the Sicilians how to be competitors on the international market. That's where it is right now. Or else it's basically hit its its high point.
Two things. I agree with you. There's been immense progress at the airport in Catania since I've been here my first time 9 years ago. Immense improvements. I agree. But when the Catania airport, Fontana Rosa, was brought to its knees, it took them way too long to get up and get operational. So if it's closed for a few days, it happens. There was a fire. They want to clear the smoke, people's health. That makes 100% sense. But they also have now have had the place completely cleaned out, completely reconstructed for a couple weeks. And in fact, they've had to have numerous meetings at the high level to make sure that that points were checked, that everything was checked, which is fine. But 3 weeks, please, 3 weeks. Alfred is exactly right about the entrance to Fontana Rosa, because there's two roads, one going in, one coming out. We're talking a major airport.
International
airport.
Yeah.
You need much more than one street in, one street out. The other thing that I want to tell you, that it was my first time at Trapani Airport, and I was pleasantly surprised by its size. So it seems like they're doing about, I believe it was half a million flights a year, which is substantially more than what they did before. So that's a growing airport, maybe an airport to watch for. Who knows?
Listen, you powers to be, okay? I happen to know that a lot of powers to be happen to listen to our broadcast, all right? I'm going to tell you guys what to do, and I'm not going to charge you any money, okay? You want to make 100 million euro, or say 200 million euro, charge €5, or if you want to make 200 million, €10 entrance fee to the airlines to come into this airport, okay? A landing fee. Increase the landing fee. Did you ever hear the story about Campbell's Soup Company many years ago, a big famous legal case, Esther? A guy walked into Campbell Soup's headquarters one day and he says, I'm going to tell you how to increase your business by 10%. So they gave him, we went to the board. They said, this guy can increase our business by 10%. 10%, right? Yeah, 10%, but it's going to cost you $25,000. So they says, okay, for $25,000, it's a great way to figure out how we can increase our business 10%. He came back a week later with a single typewritten page. It said, increase your prices by 10%. Simple,
story.
Right? And then he sent them a bill for $25,000. Of course, they didn't pay it, and there was litigation about it. But that's what this airport has to do. Now, the city of Catania is so broke, it can't pay attention. Okay? They have over 70% of their available police openings unfilled because they don't have the money to pay for them. The city of Catania is a stakeholder in the airport. SAC. They own 13% of SAC. So you've got essentially a bankrupt city like Catania who should have money. If you're a shareholder, That's where the deep pockets have to be. So this is what the problem is. The whole Rubik's cube of who these guys are needs to be brought in with some heavy hitters. Just my opinion.
This I'm very interested in reading this. I have been at the airport the day after the incident and I didn't see much destruction, so I don't understand why it's taking such a long to get operation, or they could have handled this way better. I agree with you. And Hunter, where are you watching from? And welcome to this channel. Absolutely, it was in a small place. Who knows uh, who did it? But Travis Chow, the Turks have got it figured out with the
Yes.
Istanbul airport, and I love traveling with Turkish Air. Istanbul airport is absolutely incredible. And that, why did it take so long? It just goes back to a lot of the things that we talk about in this channel. And that is the unfortunate Italian/Sicilian bureaucracy that is just a what to break. It just exists. And people, by the way, Sicilians are angry. I have spoken
Oh my
to dozens,
goodness.
like really angry. Not just the comments on Airporto de Catania, the airport Catania, where they list some of the information, but also on newspapers, on website. I mean, people are up in arms about the situation, about the handling of the Catania fires, about the handling of the wildfires that just keep on happening. And thirdly, which has been happening for a long time, is this damn trash problem. And all three of them are exacerbated by heat, by the summer, by the influx of all these tourists, by the unions that go on strike and blah 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 blah. But those three items I have noticed since living here, start addressing some of those issues, including the trash, including the wildfires, including cutting through some of this bureaucracy, it's going to stay status quo. Sicily has potential to be great. Sicily has potential to be a superstar destination, but with these little problems, it just makes it difficult. So I pray someone's listening or someone's going to do something because, as you guys know, we love Sicily. We want to see the best for Sicily.
Listen, don't be afraid, Sicily, to take in investor money. Okay, I'm talking about real investor money. The Japanese are going to allegedly try to build the Strait Bridge. Okay, they're going to be one of the big investors.
That's another one.
I have no problem with the Chinese. People have a problem with the Chinese. I don't have a problem with the Chinese, provided the deal is laid out properly. Or the Germans.
Are you talking about them coming here and running the country?
No, of course not. I'm talking about investing in the airport and making it into an international player is what I'm talking.
Someone from the
okay.
outside needs to
Or
come in.
somebody like Elon Musk. Hey, Musk, are you watching my program? You like us? You think we're
I don't
funny?
want him here. I don't want him
Send
here.
us some money. We'll
No,
make
no,
this.
no. I don't
But
want him here.
seriously, what we
No,
need
thanks.
is we need a disinterested, okay, not vested, a bunch of experts that can investigate what went wrong and prevent it from ever happening again.
Excuse me, not only that, but let's have an emergency plan. Let's have an emergency plan. Let me read Dr. Rosemary's, and then I want to say a few things about that. Imagine a public-private collaboration with access to international resources coordinated through the aerospace innovators at Corey. Great idea.
Rosemary, that's what I'm saying. And by the way, Esther, there's one thing that you alluded to.
Wait a sec. Wait.
All
right, hi, Esther and Alfred. Should there be an independent investigation of the fire at the airport right now?
There is. It's ongoing.
Yes, it is. There are. Let me just tell you about just some simple things that are just like, it makes sense, right? It makes sense that people are going to be waiting outside since the terminal was closed, and they're being bused for either departure or arrival at certain places around the airport. That you have someone with a loudspeaker, someone with a microphone. Please, don't you have, my guides even have those loudspeakers that you can make big announcements. Marta has one of those loud ones. You can talk to 100 people at a time. Why are there at the Terminal C? I looked at the ground. Cigarette butts everywhere. Why didn't have someone just have the presence of mind of putting a few ashtrays out? Sicilians are big smokers. Just put a few ashtrays. How about some plastic chairs? How about some fold-out chairs for the elderly, for those who may have some kind of a ailment or something? Basic human things that I did not see, that people have complained about since the beginning. Thankfully, as I said, the heat index has gone down. But back when it was 110, 115, no seats. I mean, there are bathrooms. I did notice bathrooms, but no one there giving out water all the time. To me, that's a little bit mind-boggling.
How about profiteering, Esther? How about people who've made a lot of do-re-mi by taking advantage of the situation? For example, vendors who are marking up and selling arancini for €6.50, or for €5 or €6 for a thing of water, like what happened the first few days. Okay, people were taking advantage of that. I mean, right down the line, things were broken. Okay,
Right.
morally they were broken. That's just my view. And one other thing, you alluded to Wizz Airline before.
Yeah.
I stopped flying them a few years ago because every time I flew them,
Wazir
I
is
had I
Hungarian.
had a I know I had a desire to go to the bathroom when I was on the plane. I don't know if it was the name or whatever it was.
That was
Who would name an airline Wizz Airline?
that's funny. Hungarians would.
Wizz Airline. I'm taking a Wizz. That'd be a
They've
good
done
marketing
by
idea.
the way, they've done a really good job. Some airlines have decided to completely stop. There's an airline out of the UK called Jet. They just said, we are not even coming near Sicily till August 14th. Talk about a loss to hotels, restaurants, accommodations, guides, and everyone in the travel and tourism sector. It's been a big hit. People are reporting between 30 and 40% cancellations. That's scary. It's very
We have a
unfortunate.
friend of ours uh, that presently, since this nightmare began, is losing €100,000 a day. A hundred
150,000.
€150,000 a day because he took the moral issue and he said, I'm going to hold on to my help. And he's been paying his help. Okay. The guy's got a bunch of businesses. Okay. Not only, not only in Catania, but in some of the other airports or vicinity of the other airports. Still, €150,000 a day. That's about 175,000 US dollars. This is one businessman. There's been the there are over 900, as I said last week, travel agents who operate in Italy, from out, within Italy and outside of Italy. Yet there's no representation for the touristic companies on any level
Well, there's
at these
the
airports. I
head of
think
the
that's just great.
tourism. There's the head of the tourism who's at the table and really, really pounding the
Esther,
table to have something done. He just
I think
doesn't have
most of
much of
his
a
yelling
voice.
is done from the outside. I'm not that sure. I want to know who the rest of the stakeholders are. There are. We know that 13% is owned by the city of Catania. I'd like to see who the other investors are. Are they deep pockets, or are they nepotism, or are they phony balonies? I think that and you know what's happening on this investigation? It's being done by the judiciary, by the criminal prosecutor. An outsider is doing this investigation. That's why there was a delay on the little area that got on fire. Those guys, they actually brought in an expert from the Rome fire, two experts. Am I correct in saying that? To investigate that. So we're gonna have to see.
The
But
hunter says, I'm from Syracuse. I often travel to Catania because I go to university. Some people in my family living in other regions of Italy had to land in Trapani. Let me tell you about that and take the bus to Catania. So that's exactly what happened to me last night when I arrived at midnight in Trapani, all the way on the other side of the island. We're talking 5 hours. And there was a family there from Hungary, but they weren't from Budapest. They were 2.5 hours south of Budapest. So listen to their journey. So they left in the morning to go to Budapest airport for a 7 o'clock flight. It was supposed to be at 7. However, there were some wild storms in Budapest. So our flight ended up being delayed 3 hours. So now 7 o'clock becomes 10 p.m. 10 p.m. So we arrived at midnight to 5 to Catania airport. That's 5 hours. And they rented a place up in Giardini Naxos, which is another good 45 minutes from the airport. So not 45 to an hour. So they were freaking out. They don't speak Italian, so obviously they speak Hungarian. So I said to them, let me help you guys out, because they had no idea how to get from Catania Airport to Giardini Naxos. I do have to say that there are some taxis at the airport
Was
in
there a lot of
Catania
taxis?
in arrival and also in departure. There are some taxis, but you're coming with a family of 5. What do you do? So I ended up calling our bus company that we use for our tours, and I said, let me set something up for you guys. So they were on their merry way. But what a long day. And 2 children, one of them was 8, the other one 4. So we're talking about a long day for the children too. But
let me just
they
recap
did arrive.
a couple of things that people are still concerned about. I want to go back to the fire issue. Okay, there aren't any fires right now. There are localized fires. Okay, in Catania there was a fire, for example, in one of the neighborhoods, but it wasn't like we had at the beginning. When was it? A week ago, or whenever the hell we had these fires. And let's not forget that we haven't had rain here in over 9 weeks. And number two,
Did it rain the other day while I
it
was
just
gone?
a little sprinkle.
It
That's
was
it.
just
A little
okay.
sprinkle. When I mean a little sprinkle, I mean 10-minute sprinkle.
Like a
okay?
whiz?
Like a whiz. But getting back, not only do we not have rain, but the fires occurred by arsonists, probably most of them, during 100 to 110-degree heat wave. So all the stars had lined up for
It
a
was a
catastrophe.
perfect
Believe
storm.
me, it really was a perfect storm of bad things that happened.
Josephine, my luggage has not been found. Extra money for hotels, new flights, and taxis.
Well, what's the lesson to be learned there, Josephine? Make sure you have travel insurance. We hammer that all the time. Okay, you need to have travel insurance. You would be reimbursed for a lot of
Paul,
that.
my walker was lost by still haven't gotten it back. Sorry to hear that, Paul.
Make a claim, Paul.
But he left from Palermo.
Ah,
Um, Keyboard farmer, great name.
what's
Yes,
that?
trash. Love Sicily, but the trash on the beautiful landscape is so sad. And
You know what this? You know what
we
the saying is?
done we have done several shows on that. It is just, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say?
You know what the saying
Excuse me,
is?
what are you gonna say?
Here's what the saying is for the uncivil people: trash in my house is my problem. Trash outside is Rome's problem. Okay. And I just said this to her. There's a little shortcut I take all the time to go to my favorite bar. And yesterday there must have been 25 bags of debris there. And I just remember I just said that today. I said on the way to Bistro, I was really annoyed.
Yeah.
I think that that's another issue that needs a study because the way they're doing it is not correct. They have environmental police, but they don't use CCTVs. If you put up a bunch of TVs in these high risk areas, and then you said, "Oh, okay, you're caught. Now we're going to confiscate your car for 30 days, and you can't drive for 2 years," and put your boot on the neck of those that are doing that. And it's not everybody that's doing that.
In fact, the others are
it's the
so
uncivil
frustrated.
people that are doing that. But tighten it up. You
Now, I
can't.
did read that the president of the region, Shivari, was talking about doing trash in, energy out. If I have it correctly, trash in, energy out,
Like our
kind of
thing.
a thing that they take trash and create energy. So I'm going to be very interested to see if that materializes, because like I said, they've been talking about this for so long. Let me just answer this. What airlines from the UK decided to stop flights to Catania? Well, first of all, passport control is not open yet from the UK. So because people from the UK are outside the European Union, they haven't processed that, or they haven't opened that place up where they're able to look at passports. So that's one of the problems. And one of the airlines, it's called Jet. I've never heard of them before. Let me see here. The Trapani airport is about as far from Catania as you can get and still be on the island.
Correct. Travis is completely correct.
5 hours yesterday after flying, after sitting in the airport since like 4 o'clock. It was a 12-hour trip. It was almost as long as coming from Boston.
There was a couple of airlines that during this crisis over here basically says, no, we're not flying into Catania. I think Ryanair was one of them. Didn't Ryanair divert a lot of their planes?
Ryanair, well, because Ryanair always used Trapani as its hub.
Oh,
So
okay.
they
So
made,
that's
so
yeah.
they did make a decision that they're not going to fly in here.
That's
Terminal
probably
A,
a good decision that they had, to be honest with you.
Terminal A designs offer stairs everywhere. Go upstairs for food. Go downstairs for the toilet. I do have insurance.
Brilliant,
Good.
brilliant, isn't it?
Okay, Frank, nice to see you, Frank. Over 100 here in San Antonio for the last
Hi,
38
Frank.
days. 105, no end in sight. Hope you stay a little bit cooler. Trash dump near highway bridges. Just very
Try to go
sad.
on the road from Mr. Bianco up to Patano on the east, the west side of Etna. That's a cultural thing over there. People just take their garbage and they flip it out the windows. And it got so bad that 10 years ago, when I before this is before Esther, and I was doing tours by myself, I stopped going what's the,
Refugio Sapien.
Bronte and those places over there precisely because of that reason. It was embarrassing
Now,
on a highway.
I don't know
Right?
if you saw my big smile as I put Nick's comment up, because I agree with you 100%. No matter how many problems Sicily has, I will always love it because it is the home of my family and generation upon generation. Let me answer that. I don't have any family from Sicily. And despite all the problems, despite living here and dealing with a lot of bureaucracies, I still love Sicily. I still call it my second home. Well, okay, third home. Budapest, Sicily, and Boston. Those are my three homes. And I have to
Nice.
say that one of the reasons that we talk about this on this channel is to keep you guys informed. So we're not just doing, beautiful walking tours all over Sicily and cooking and food and all that. One of the reasons that we're talking about that, not only to keep you informed, the second reason is because we want to be realistic about the situations. Alfred and I come at it from different angles. Alfred always says, "Oh, rose-colored glasses, blah blah blah." He's like rough and rants and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to speak for you, if you don't mind, we are both in here to make Sicily better. We are both looking for solutions. The reason we are so adamant about our nonprofit, the Sicilian Project, is because we believe in Sicily and we want to give back to Sicily. So while we sit here and rant and tell you about the problems, there are obviously a lot of good things. And let's hope and pray and let's seek some change in leadership so those changes can happen.
Listen, let's put everything in
Yes.
perspective too. I think the biggest thing you have to do, guys, is put it into perspective. There's only a little bit more than 5 million people in the entire island. That's it. That's if you got everybody and you put them in a city, one city, that's smaller than one of the medium-sized cities in the United States, except they're spread out all over the place. Okay, 5 million people spread out over 200 uh, communities, 232 communities. Okay, do you realize how much duplication there is? That means there is 232 mayors, for example. There are 232 town councils, for example. Okay, the bureaucracy here, because of the way the setup is okay for if you're a little leaguer or you're a minor leaguer, but they have to do something now if they want to get into the 21st century, when you're going to have problems with climate change, water, and all the other problems that are inherent to this day and age. They need to get on the ball here. But we'll talk about it, and that's it. I mean, I'm a St. Thomas type of a guy, and that's what I'm going to do. I enjoy it.
Josephine, I hate to hear this. I was born in Fiume Further. I love it here. This trip became too stressful. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Josephine.
And we have people here too right now, and they have been diverted and things have changed, but I feel like the end is in sight. Jim Ingram, Sicily is my heart's home, always will be. I think there's the reason the lessons are too important.
Yeah, I agree, Jimmy boy. I hope you're okay, by the way.
Travis, I'm with you. I have zero Sicilian blood, but it has become my favorite place to go. And in spite of the problems, we'll continue to visit. Love you and Christine and your family.
I want to ask you guys a question. I'm thinking about talking Esther into having another unadvertised tour in February or March, whenever the Carnivale is. We did a few Carnivales there, Well, we went to Archie Alley and a few other places. And some people have been sending me emails. How come you stopped doing them? Well, we really didn't stop doing them.
We
We just stopped doing them. We were doing other things. But if we can get 6 people or 8 people together, we'll be happy to do a carnivale.
It's a great time. It's a great time.
Yeah. So if you're interested, send Esther a message. Don't send me a message. Send Esther a message because she's in charge of that.
Martin, I'm going to Giardini next with my girlfriend, 17 to 23 of August. Do you have any suggestions for things to do? Listen to me. If you go to our playlist, Explore Sicily, maybe in May, probably in May, I did a whole video on where to eat, what to do. Our friend Roberto from Sicily, who's making the pizza, is on it. So go to our playlist, what to do in Giardini, or I believe it's called Walking Tours. So for those of you guys who are new here, we're 2 expats from Massachusetts, and we have videos really not just about serious topics like this, but also walking tours, history, culture, cooking, and all of that. So let me read a few more of these. Sicily is my family, my love, and where I'm going to live.
Bravo.
Hey, Alfio, nice to see you. There are groups that try to do great things like trash cleanup and try to make things more up to date, but there are groups that hold everyone back unless they can fed off of it.
Could I say something about it to Alfio about that? Now, Alfio's hot. If you cut it open, you're going to see Archie Trezza there, okay? And the mayor of Archie Trezza is this guy by the name of Carmelo Scandura, all right? If every town had a mayor like Carmelo Scandura, most of these problems would go away because Carmelo Scandura, he's a man of the people.
Hands on.
He's a man of the people. He's not there to use it as a stepping stone or to grease his palms or whatever the hell these guys do. He does it because he's in love with Archie Trezza. All right. Those are the type of people we need. That has Sicily in their heart, and that's it. End the story. Basta.
So, all right. So I have there's a question here. Which bar do you frequent, Alfred? I live in Trecastani. I love it here. My wife and I moved with the Navy 2 years ago. First of all, thank you very much for your service, Robert.
Yes.
Secondly, do you mean bar like where we get our do you mean bar where we get our coffee and arancini, or you mean like a drinking bar? Because a bar here is a place where you get a coffee, you maybe get an aperitivo, you get a gelato or something like that.
Well, right in Trecastani is one of the best bars in the whole area, frankly. It's in the Piazza Marconi. What's the name of that place? We go to all the time. I forgot.
Campisi.
Bar Campisi.
There's Roberto is the main waiter. Tell him we said hello.
They have great food, number one, great gelato, because everything comes from that area. It's 0 kilometer stuff. We've been going there for years. If you can go to Archie Trezza, Esther's hands down favorite is
Eden Bar
for the best granita you ever had. If you're in Archie San Filippo, we like
what?
Bistro.
Oh, the Bistro.
If you're in Archie San Antonio, we like the place with the Statue of Liberty.
Liberty Cafe.
No, it's called
Liberty
Cafe Victoria.
Oh,
Cafe Victoria.
Cafe Victoria.
And if you're in Via Grande, which is right next to Trecastani, we like Cafe Una. She's having a little bit of a little thing. But every town has one bar.
We have a place
that is just outstanding. Okay.
And now I just want to go back to Archie Trezza. That's one bar that has great granita, and Alfio, don't tell me otherwise, because that's what I think. I know some people like Solari's.
That's right next door. They're good
right
too.
next door. And then there's Bar Mythos, which is right on the waterfront. Some people like that too. But Archie Trezza has some great restaurants and also some great bars. The other thing I wanted to say is, every town we also have our little, who has the best granita, who has the best gelato. There's the cornetti in one town, but you don't get it in another town. One town has the better arancino. So you got to sort of like mix it up, try it out, right?
The best.
Excuse me. You're right. Condorelli in Valpasso, but Condorelli also in Syracuse at the Piazza Duomo. You sit right there with the Duomo right there and have a espresso or cappuccino, or
I have to say that the best cornetto
where
out of all the places that I've been to is at Bistro. in Aci San Filippo because they serve it. First of all, they make them right on the premises, but when they serve it, the cornetto is warm and the cream is warm as well. It hasn't been sitting there all day. And in the morning, you go there and you have a cup of coffee and one of those things, and honestly, the stars will begin to shoot out of your head. That's how good it is.
All right. There any parts of the island that has not been affected by the fire? Sorry, okay. So,
Yeah,
yes, of course. Yes, of course. There were pockets of places. Nearly every province had some kind of fires. Some areas worse than others. And if you take a look at the video we did, this area was the area, our neighborhood was
yeah,
affected
we got whacked pretty good,
terribly, terribly.
pretty good.
Pretty good. But after a few hours, it was completely put out. And I did go for a walk the next day, and I did see a little bit of burning houses. No houses burnt down, just affected a little bit of the periphery. The land is what's devastating. The vegetation, the animals, the fruits, the vegetables. I mean, not good. And then in Palermo, listen to this. This is terrible. Palermo, the landfill was burning for several days. So we're talking burning plastic. You guys know plastic, burning, dioxin. It's one of the most dangerous chemicals. And in fact, the mayor put out an ordinance urging people to stop eating meat, eggs, some vegetable, or wash the vegetables thoroughly. Bad situation all around.
There's nobody better.
Castellamare didn't get affected, says Paul. That's wonderful.
Yeah, there's nobody
Last
better
year they did.
in terms of survivability than a Sicilian. Okay, they're the most, and I've been all over the world, as has Esther. They're the most resourceful people. Okay, and if it wasn't for the resources of the normal person, this country would be a lot worse off than it is. Okay, some of the people, for example, you should see
Our
the
neighbors going out with the hose.
Yeah, they
That's
ran right
resource.
into the fire with
All
garden
of our
hoses.
neighbors. We have about
right?
6 of them.
They made a
them.
fire break with not fire hoses, but with garden hoses. Can you imagine that? You talk about having, whatever you call
In
them.
preparation of this year, our neighbor went near our property and cut down all the grass, and he
Made a
kept them
fire
very-
break. Made a fire
fire
break.
break.
And he trespassed to do that because the guy who owns that land, he's got so much land, doesn't even know that the problem existed.
He's La Pizzeria Gatto La Volpe will be operating in Tuscany's Pizza in
Piazza
Piazza
Sant'Alfio. Wait a minute.
I've never heard of that.
Gatto.
We've never eaten
I don't
there.
even. That's the Piazza Sant'Alfio. Is that the restaurant that's right next to the churchy?
No, that's not the one.
I don't know where that
Wait.
one was.
I was
Castania's
told
got some good places though.
I was told that the best granitas in Acireale in the Piazza. Yes, that too. I don't know the name of the bar. I went boy to Solare and Etna Eden in Acireale, depending where my friends were hanging out. Let me tell you, Acireale has a great. Wait a second. This is important. I want to take this question.
Sure.
Isadora, we are considering going to Sicily for our honeymoon the first week of October. Should we go? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The weather is great.
Yep.
The harvest is just starting.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
The bugs are gone.
The bugs are gone. The
Not that
wines.
It rains, so there's not going to be fires.
It's a great
Planes
time.
should be arriving on time.
It's all the the fall harvest is just coming. October.
It's our favorite time
In
of the year.
fact, that's your favorite, not my favorite. It's one of October. We have a tour going on because it is one of the months that we really, really enjoy here. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's just perfect.
I'd like to say one last thing before we wrap it up. You see, Esther, she's like full of whiz and vinegar today, isn't she, huh? Truth be told is that she hasn't slept at all practically in 24 hours. The first thing that she did when she came into the house is, we got to get ready for the live show today, okay? That's what she thought about. And believe me, for the 15 or 20 bucks that we make, am I correct? We don't make money doing this, all right? Is that, is it worth it? But for her, and it's admirable, and it keeps me going. And she's got a burning love for this place that just is just amazing, and it's my honor to have to work with her. I have to be honest with you.
And honey, it's my honor to
she
work with you.
she pushes me, you know. She pushes me about this stuff.
Yeah,
I just want to.
I'm gonna push them right.
I want to watch. I want to watch the Red Sox today, but I can't.
Listen, I do it because I love you guys. I love this community that we've created here on Facebook and also here on YouTube. You guys keep us going. You guys are so supportive, and I really appreciate that. So I do this for you guys and for Sicily.
Now, next week we'll come back with our magazine format videos. We've got some video.
Well, wait, midweek I'm going to have.
Yeah, we're going to have
I went to
two this
Budapest,
week.
so I'm going to have a little bit of Budapest, some sights and sound, and also I'm going to chronicle a little bit my adventures, Catania, Budapest, then Budapest, Trapani, and then the bus ride from midnight to 5 a.m.
And you're going to see my granddaughter Rose, who had the presence of mind while she was taking the trip from Catania to Palermo with her folks to fly out of there. She witnessed firsthand driving through all the fires.
That was 2 weeks ago, but
right. So
now.
We're going to put it together now. She wrote a narrative
she's a very
too. She
good
did
writer.
She wrote a report, and it's about 2 or 3 minutes. And Esther's going to basically present that next week too. So I can hardly wait to see that too.
So
but anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Arrivederci. Buona domenica if you're still watching with us. And we'll see you on another video. You, me, and Sicily. Love you guys.
Sabenediga.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Don't tell me I